In today's lesson, we are going to learn about the ArrayList class and learn about how it is similar to and different from a traditional array which we have been working with so far. First of all, the ArrayList class needs to be imported. And just like an array, the indices start at 0 and go until size minus 1. And unlike a traditional array, the size can change for an ArrayList. An important detail is that ArrayList can only hold objects. So we cannot use an ArrayList to create an ArrayList of ints or doubles, but we could use them for strings or bank account objects or any other objects that we have created. Now, when we create an ArrayList reference, we have to do this very specifically. We need to first say ArrayList. Then we need to put in angled brackets the type of object that we are going to put in the array list. And the reason why is because this class is specified to hold a generic type of type object. And every object that we write is a descendant of the object class. So they can all go inside the array list. However, we need to tell Java which type we are going to have. We do not declare size, but we do need to declare the type of object. This right here is an example of a line of code that will create and instantiate an array list. So here I am saying I want to make an array list. It will hold the object type of student. I'm going to call it period 6, so that's like my variable name. And then now I'm going to call the new array list constructor. Notice that all constructors always end in parentheses because they are methods. This parentheses is a very commonly forgot component to this line of code. So it's ArrayList, object type in angled brackets, object name equals new ArrayList, object type in brackets, and then open close parentheses. There are several methods that are available to us with the ArrayList class, and we're going to go through these real quick. So first of all, we have the add method, and the add method allows us to add an object to the array list. If we do not specify an index, it just gets added to the end. If we do specify an index, it will insert the value inside the array list, and every other element will move down one number. If we use the method set, what set will do is replace a current value at that index with the object that is passed in. And the important thing to recognize here is that the set method returns the object that was replaced. The get method is just like our typical getters. It is going to get the object at this index and return it. Remove is going to take this object and delete it from our array list, and it then returns the object that is removed. And lastly, the method size returns the number of elements in the list. Now remember that an array list has a flexible size. So as you add and remove elements, this method will return a different number. Now, the reason why we need to specify an array list element type is so that way we don't have to do typecasting throughout our entire use of the array list. As I mentioned before, the ArrayList class works for any object, but not primitive data. And when we declare our array list, if we don't first specify what type of object that we are working with, then we would have to typecast this object, the specific object type, before every method call, which is very tedious. So rather than having to do that all throughout our code, we just specify it in our constructor call. In terms of efficiencies, array lists are easier for the programmer to use, but they are not quite easier on the computer. So a good way to think of them is that they make it easier for us to manipulate the arrays, but they are not efficient on the back end. Essentially what's happening is that Java continually makes new arrays to adjust for the flexible size. So like I said, it's easier for us, but not necessarily easier behind the scenes. Just like we have created our own ToString methods for other classes that we have written, we also have a ToString method for the ArrayList class. And this will allow us to nicely print out all of the elements in the array list. Now, it's important to note that it's not necessarily going to be formatted the way that you would want it. It's just going to print out all the objects inside of square brackets separated by commas. And then notice here in this print statement, we can put the ToString call. However, if we leave it off, Java will call it automatically for us. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at just some sample code along with these ArrayList methods. In a sample lesson, we are going to go ahead and create an array list of strings to represent my family members. So I'm going to say ArrayList angle bracket string, and then my family equals new ArrayList angle bracket string, and then open close parentheses semicolon. Now you'll notice that I have an error here, and that's because the computer doesn't know what ArrayList is. And so remember with Eclipse, if we hover over it, it gives us an option to auto import this statement. So if I click here, I now have my import statement filled in for me. All right, so now I have this reference, and currently my array list has no values. If I were to do a system.out.println with my fam.size, then I would go ahead and I would see that I have a size of 0. So let's just run this so that you can see that down here at the bottom. So right now I have a size of 0. Now when I want to add an entry to my array list, think of this like a literal list on a piece of paper. I'm just going to say the array list name, so my fam.add, and since my array list holds strings and it's telling me it holds strings, it knows it holds strings because I typecasted it as such, I can now add names to it. So I add myself, and then if I were to do another print statement here for the size, then I would see now my size is equal to 1. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's add a few more add statements. So my fam.add Bob, and we'll do, oops, not add all, just add. And we'll do my fam.add, and we'll add my son, Braden. All right, so right now I have added, why does it keep doing that? Sorry. I have myself, my husband, and my son. And if I were to go ahead and print my array list, so let's say I just said I wanted to print my fam, it is going to automatically call my ToString method, and I will see the 3 entries that I have in my array separated by commas inside these brackets. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I want to insert my daughters before my son because they were born first. So I'm going to say my fam dot. Now I want to insert an element, but the ArrayList class doesn't have an insert method. So instead I'm going to use the add method, and I want to tell it where I want it to put. So I want to put this method after Bob, but before Braden. So I want to insert it on slot 0, 1, 2. So I'm going to say add at index 2, and I want to add Aubrey. And now I want to print out my family again. And if I run my code here, I will now see Shannon, Bob, Aubrey has been inserted, and then Braden. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add in Riley. And I don't know why it keeps doing that. Sorry, that's annoying. And so if I want to put in Riley in front of Braden, so in between Aubrey and Braden, so 0, 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to say 3 and then Riley. All right, so right now I have added, I've gone ahead and added all 5 members of my family. Now, sometimes people will call Riley Rye. My husband hates that, but sometimes they'll do that. So let's say I wanted to go ahead and change her name to be Rye. Then I would say my fam.add on index 3, Rye. And now if I were to do a print of my family, I would see that not only has Riley been inserted, but now I have inserted, if we scooch this up a little bit, I now have Rye and Riley. And that wasn't what I meant. I meant to change Riley to say Rye. Okay, so in terms of what I need to do, instead of adding another add method, I want to do a set method. And what set does is it changes the value at that current position. So now if I run this, now I will see what I wanted, which is Shannon, Bob, Aubrey, Rye, and Braden. Okay, now sometimes you want to know what exactly you changed. So this set method returns the value that used to be there. So I can say string old name equals, and then what this will do is this will return the value that was replaced. And so now I can do a system.out.println old name. And now what I will see is I will see my array list, I will see the change with Riley, and then after that, I will see what her name used to be, which is Riley. All right, last but not least is our remove method. And the way that our remove method works is it also returns the string that was taken out. So if I were to say string deleted name equals my fam dot remove, and let's say we just wanted to remove myself. You know, sometimes moms want to get away, right? So let's say I wanted to remove myself. Then if I printed my family now, notice, scooches up a little bit, notice that that first entry, that entry 0 is gone. And let's say I wanted to know what exactly I removed. If I did a system.out.print of deleted name, I would now see myself appear. All right, now a very common tactic that you'll see in AP multiple choice problems is they will combine a remove with a set. So let me show you how that would look. In a scenario like that, they would say, okay, I am going to take my fam and I am going to add, and then we will do my fam dot remove. Let's say we remove index 2. Okay, so here's what's going to happen. First, on the inside, my fam.remove is going to remove the value that's at index 2, which is currently 0, 1, 2, Rye. And it's going to remove that element. So now my array list will be Bob, Aubrey, Braden. And then it's going to take that object and it's going to add it. Now, since it's adding it with no index provided, it's going to add it to the end. So now, essentially, Rye has been removed and then it has been added to the end. So now when I run my code, if I were to print my array list one more time, I would see Bob, Aubrey, Braden, Rye. And there we are. All right, so array lists are one of those things that we will play around with quite a bit, and you can do a lot of cool things with them, especially when you have array lists of objects. Now, if we just wanted to get a specific value, then I could do string get first equals my fam dot get index 0. And what this will do is this will simply get the first value, retrieve it, and store it in this string. All right, that is it for today, and we will do some more practicing at class. Thank you.